for this first virtual certificate course on the public finance management. We are 100 participants on this particular certificate course. I welcome the honorable guest, Suresh Prabhuji, who is a member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, and he was a member of Parliament for 5th time, and he was serving number of ministries like railway, a lot of Minister of Commerce. Now he's a Prime Minister SEPA, chairing of the Prime Minister SEPA G7 G20. And we have with us the Honorable Vice President of the ICI, Nihar Jambusaria ji. We have Vice Chairman of this committee. So I welcome all of you to this certificate course. I request the Honorable Vice President to address the gathering and welcome our Honorable guest, Suresh Prabhuji. Voice.
Unmute. You are on mute.
Unmute, sir. No, unmute. You have to unmute it.
Centrally unmuted.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Honorable Member of Parliament, CS Suresh Prabhuji, the Chairman of the Committee on Public Finance and Government Financial Management, CS Dheeraj Khandelwal, Vice Chairman, CS CV Chitle, all the participants in this course and friends. It's a great pleasure today that Committee on Public Finance and Government Financial Management is coming out with this virtual certificate course on public finance and government accounting. In fact, when lockdown started, all committees were feeling that now our activities will be seriously hampered and we will not be able to undertake courses which we were normally conducting physically. But then all of us thought, let us think positive about this particular pandemic, although it is dangerous, but it is giving some indication for us to transform ourselves. And like the thinking in the institute, this committee proactively thought, let us launch a virtual certificate course. I am informed that when this course was launched, in just one day, all seats were full. And now there is a waiting list, and in quick succession, the committee on 6th June itself is coming out with this second certificate course, which will again be conducted on virtual mode. Let me talk about 2 or 3 major initiatives that the chairman and the members of this committee took, chairman, vice chairman and members, that particularly in last 18 months, this committee came out with 12 accounting standards for local bodies. The committee approached all state governments and requested them that they need to make amendments in their statutes to fall in line with the accounting manual which has been prepared for local bodies. In the past, probably government accounting was not considered to be the priority of accounting profession. But the institute always thought that if we are true partners in nation building, then we should engage with government proactively and provide our complete help and assistance to the government in building the right accounting system, which falls in line with the accounting standards which we follow even for corporates. So in line with this committee has done excellent work, particularly during last 1.5 years. I compliment the chairman and vice chairman for all initiatives that you have taken. And I think this is the reason for which Honorable Member of Parliament Suresh Prabhuji has agreed that, okay, I will inaugurate this course. And that's an honor for this committee, for the institute, and for all those participants who are attending the course. Suresh Prabhuji, out of his busy schedule, has spared this time for us. And I would not like to take a single minute out of his time which is available to us. And I would request Suresh Prabhuji to address the participants.
So thank you very much, my dear and Jambu ji, Khandelwal ji, Chitale ji, and of course all the participants. Actually, you said the pandemic forced the institute to conduct the course online. But there's a link between pandemic and the topic that you're discussing today. Thanks to the pandemic, the public finance has come into focus globally. All over the world, people are expecting governments of their national governments as well as provincial and local governments to cater to the needs of the most affected people, either because of pandemic itself or because of the consequences of pandemic on economy. And therefore, people are expecting public finance to provide help to the people, either through public hospitals, public health care, or even providing packages to save the economy, again will come from public finances. So pandemic is a reason why you are conducting course online. The pandemic has again put, I would say, rightly so, after long ignorance about the importance of that subject globally, now it has come into a global focus. Talking about public finance, and as Mr. Jambu Sir has said, the corporate finance, I would like to first ask a basic question. Is there any difference between public finance and corporate finance? And Jambu Saraji works for a very large organization, and he will tell you that our biggest corporate entity in India is Reliance Industries. They made first public offering, if I'm not mistaken, around 76, 77. So almost 43, 44 years ago. And they popularized the cult of equity. Either equity directly or even convertible debentures, which eventually will get converted to equity. So why did they do it? They realized that going directly to the investor, the household, will provide a better cost capital to the company, and probably the shareholders will take part in the equity. We also get better rewarded directly from the company. It paid off. In fact, the Reliance early shareholders have reaped huge benefits over a period of time. But why did I say this? That is there a difference between corporate finance and public finance? Why? The fundamental question is, where do corporate get money? I just explained. Where do you get the money? You got the money from equity shareholders or bondholders. From where? From the household savings. Even when you want to go to the banks, and banks give you corporate loans, where do banks get money? From the household. If the banks don't have, Mr. Chitale runs a cooperative bank, can banks lend money if they don't have deposits? Today, RBI can open up a chest and say, please borrow from me directly. But households provide that money to banks, banks in turn give money to the corporates. Now that's a window of corporate finance. Where does government get money? And that's public finance. When government gets it, it becomes public finance. Where does government get money? What is the source of government revenues? Taxation. Who pays taxes? Now, Mr. Jambu Sir will say corporates pay taxes. Corporates pay corporate tax, income tax, yes. We'll say we collect GST and give it to you. Who pays the GST? The households. The people who buy your products, they will pay GST. Of course, you can say some GST goes through the intermediary stage. Like when you buy raw material and then raw material provider pays the GST. But ultimately, the product is sold in the marketplace and then only the GST is paid. And now that's the scheme, whether GST or even indirect taxes by and large broadly. Other source of revenue of public finance, is direct tax, which I said income tax, which actually pays by more or less by the corporates and partly by the households and partly by the corporates. Indirect tax, more or less, is by the entities, not necessarily by the entities, but by the people themselves. Third source of the state, the public finance source, comes from what? It comes from, for the states at least, bulk of it comes from the sales that is levied on the liquor. Who buys the liquor? People. So ultimately, the money that goes into the state coffers or the central coffers comes from where? From the household. Now you can say there is other source of income for the government. That's public finance source. That's custom duty. So custom duty will be paid by corporate, obviously, because they are importing something. Where will be the recovery at custom duty? It becomes a value added. When you bring custom duty and your landed cost increases as a result of that, the landed cost is factored into your cost of production, and then finally you sell the product, recover it. So custom duty also, though paid by the corporate, is eventually factored into the pricing of the corporate and paid by the individual. I am saying this because there is no difference between corporate finance and public finance. There is only one source of finance, and that's the household savings. Just imagine the households, if they don't provide the support to the government by way of direct and indirect tax, either sometimes through corporates or sometimes directly, the corporate finance will have no money available. The good example is today's example. Thanks to COVID, there's no GST collection virtually. And who was that paying that GST? Because we are saying no GST because there is no consumption. So that means who consumes? The people consume. So finally, it boils down to the source of finance, whether it is private or public, is only one, and that's household. So sometimes households spend, therefore the taxation comes in as well as indirect tax. They save. So what they save goes to the bank or to the corporates in some form by the secondary market or the primary market, and that becomes also source of corporate or public private finance. But source of all this, primary source, is nothing but household. The challenge is that's having accepted it. The responsibility, therefore, is far, far more when we are dealing with public finance. Because if you are not creating wealth in the hands of the people, who are the source of all economic development anyway, how would you actually carry on the activities? So therefore, rewarding people who are providing public finance to you as a government or corporate finance to you as a corporate, if are not taking the care of their interest, we have a serious problem over a period of time to deal with this. Now, public finance has so many connotations, and I'm glad that you are covering a whole ambit of it. One, public expenditure. It's very important that when you are raising money, as I explained to you how you are raising it, it is far more important, very imperative that you must spend that money far more judiciously. What is the purpose of spending? Purpose of spending is to get certain outcomes. Unless you have a proper outcome mapping of that public expenditure, you'll never get the results. So I'm very happy that I've been championing this for a long time, and I also worked with the institute. As a railway minister, I got this opportunity. Before that, I was only talking about it. And I used that method to integrate right from budgeting to expenditure to output to outcome. The entire chain of events, which actually if you want outcome, you cannot get outcome unless you know the output. You cannot get output unless you incur the expenditure. You cannot incur the expenditure properly with a desire of getting outcome unless it is properly budgeted. So right from budget to outcome, the entire chain of events has to be properly captured. And that's what I started doing in the railways. In fact, few divisions already done it. I got it done. So it is not just I'm talking about academically. I actually got it done. But I would go beyond it. And this is what should be done. And that is what my mission for a long time. How to integrate management information system into government accounting. How to integrate management accounting into the proper financial accounting. You must integrate all this, and it is possible. I showed it. How is it possible? And to do this should be the purpose of government expenditure. Otherwise, you are dealing with government expenditure and you can say, I've done a great job because I spent more. That's what many times the CAG says, that there is so much of unspent expenditure. But when you say there is unspent expenditure, it means that the government has not done a good job. But CAG also must answer the question, is spending alone itself the purpose? Or getting something out of spending is important. So government accounting should focus and primarily to deal with how public finance has been used effectively in terms of getting desired outcomes and not just spending the money. The second aspect which you are dealing with, I am just trying to speak only for a few minutes because I have to go for another program. In fact, as Jambu as you mentioned, I found time. I have done more than 100 webinars on 54 different subjects, 54 in the last few weeks. So I have to go for another one, but the call of in my institute, when Mr. Chitale just sent me, ask him, just send me a small little message. I responded immediately, I will come because it's my institute's program. So I come for that. So otherwise I would have spoken on it for maybe 2-3 hours. But second part is public debt part. Now the question is, as I explained earlier, the source of public finance is taxation or through savings it goes in. Now if the governments are going to raise debt, and that's public debt, how are you going to service that public debt? Mr. Khandelwalji, you'll have to think about it. How will you service public debt? So public debt can be serviced only by one method. That is by raising more taxation or the investment of public expenditure that has gone in the past, hopefully in productive assets, will service that investment in such a way that you will get returns on it. There's only two ways. Either past investment paid from public expenditure gives you returns, and that is how we try to do disinvestment. What do you do disinvestment? That past public sector undertakings, investment, you are trying to now realize it by selling those assets or by raising fresh taxes. Just imagine a very inherent danger that if you are raising taxes to pay for the previous debt or service the debt, how are you going to expect people to pay you taxes? So debt servicing obligation of the government cannot be beyond a particular prudential level. And that's why when I was in Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, the finance, we came out with Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. So that revenue deficit, which goes into interest payments on one side, should not be negative. You must always have a revenue surplus. At least you can have fiscal deficit, but not revenue deficit. And to do that, we have to work on very prudential norms. Now just imagine we are in a better position in India. United States has come out with $3.5 trillion of first tranche of package, 3.5 trillion. I keep saying this, there are only 4 countries in the world who have got GDP more than 3 trillion. Only 4 countries who have got more than 4 trillion. It is US, China, Japan, and Germany. That's all. And now they are thinking of another $3 trillion package. So just imagine, how will you service that debt? What will happen? And that is what we are discussing also, I think, Khandelwalji, in this session about public debt issues. Public debt GDP ratios are now reaching globally at very alarming level. That raises issues of intergenerational benefits. Like in climate change, you always see what about intergenerational issues. Can I use all the natural resources for me? Or I should leave something for my son, my grandson and others? So can we therefore think about public debt as a challenge to the entire efficacy of legitimacy of public finance to be raised through taxation or others? And mind you, and that is I think I will probably stop here because I can see, or if just 5 more minutes, brings me to the point of where I started, public finance and private finance. I came to Parliament 25 years ago. That time the public finance situation was not as bad. But when I saw the first budget, and as a member of Parliament I had to scrutinize it, first I came to Parliament, I became straight away cabinet minister. But then after some time I became member of opposition. So more time. When I saw this, I was alarmed. I say, this way, the interest obligations of the government are exceeding so much and the debt servicing is reaching such a level, I wrote a letter to all the industrialists saying that please be taking care of public finance because you will have an impact on it. Unfortunately, everybody felt public finance is not my problem. I have safe with corporate finance. But tell me something, Sambhu Sareji, you're a businessman. If there is no pool of savings available in the country, can you get money as a corporate? And when you will not get money as corporate, when the public finance would have preempted all your money. So that's why I was trying to forewarn my friends in the industry. It is your problem also, but they thought it's not my problem. That is government's problem. So unless we realize that there is a thin margin between public finance and private finance, you must look at it as an integrated finance. The source is the same. If I put money in my left pocket, doesn't mean that money belongs to somebody else and I earn some money. I transfer my money from right hand pocket and put on the front pocket, doesn't mean I earn more money. So to understand the source of this is only one. Therefore, you must be very, very cautious and very fundamentally working on these issues more. And now, the pandemic has created havoc in public finances globally. The GDPs are going to fall at historically low level. UK GDP will be lower, which I have never seen in the last 350 years. That is the contraction. The EU will contract. US is contracting. Japan has already contracted. Just imagine that situation. When the GDP goes down, the public debt to GDP ratio again increase because GDP has fallen. How do you therefore deal with this issue? Khandelwalji?
Yes, sir.
I am very happy that so many people are enrolled for it. But now you should also give them a proper guidance. And I hope many of them will choose a career not of Jambhu Sareji, but in public finance. So Jambhu Sareji's job is relatively better because he has to realize right now Reliance Industries is doing a phenomenal job in raising money into Jio platform of a level which is nobody in the world can even think of in the world today. I'm talking about today. So everybody is working on firefighting, Reliance is raising money. And that too in a very innovative way. That to reduce debt when everybody is acquiring debt, Reliance is reducing. When everybody is thinking about saving money, Reliance is getting investment into the company. So his job is good job. I think your trainees should have a proper understanding, proper exposure, proper versatility and ability to deal with tomorrow's challenges which are going to come in form of public finance. So I think I really wish you all my best, and I think this is what you were talking about. This was your theme of topic.
Yes.
I mean, your program is structured around these issues. So I think I thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you for, I hope one day you can register me as a student. I really look forward to that.
So you will be the professor for this subject. You are the master, sir. You have implemented a lot of public finance and actual accounting in the railway. You are the pioneer on it. So that's why this is the main theme for that. We wanted to inaugurate this, certificate from through you only. So it's a great opportunity for all the learners over here to be part of it. And sir, we are doing a lot of work in this area. We complete out, with the all accounting standard also. We are meeting all the state government to utilize our accounting standard. We already met Ministry of Urban Development and Rural Development, where the Ministry of Urban Development also going to set up a committee like a NAFRA or a NACAS kind of for this accounting standard setup. So I'm hoping that the Ministry of Urban Development will surely take forward the public finance and actual accounting more forward, so in integrated manner, so accounting standard can be implemented by those are coming out by the ICA will implement. So we require your help, sir, for the way forward.
Yes, sir. And before you depart, I will just take your 2 minutes for proposing vote of thanks. Sir, before I propose vote of thanks, this committee also wants to compile the global resources in public finance for all the officials working across the country. And since you are Sherpa of Prime Minister to these G20 countries, maybe we will also take your help for the purpose of pulling personnel from across the globe for the purpose of this cause of public finance. These courses are on public finance and government accounting, and what better inauguration address we have these participants receive than your good words of advice. I am sure that this recording is available, and whenever we have those courses in days to come, we'll like to play this particular speech to them just for the purpose of understanding our horizon of this public finance. As you stated that just on the basis of the WhatsApp message I sent to you, I thought that I will call you later on, but before I could call, I received your confirmation. And as an institute, we are really happy that you are very closely participating in institute activities. And we wish that your this patronage for the institute will, and for the members will